Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Roshan Rathod, and I lead the research and knowledge management vertical at the T Parekh Foundation. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for the Exploratory Grants Q&A webinar. I'm joined today by my colleagues Shubham, Khanjan, Sudeep, and Zia, who's our CEO and Executive Director. I would request, so there is a certain flow of the event, which I'll take you through in some time. To begin today's webinar and to give you an introduction of T Parekh Foundation and an overview, I would first request Zia to come in. Before we start that, yes, thank you, Khanjan. Before we start that, I'd like to quickly just set a few expectations so that we can make the best use of our time together here today. This is more or less an interactive Q&A webinar. I'll spend the first few minutes walking you through the intent of the exploratory grants. What is it designed to support? What are exclusions, etc. Most of you all would have also read, the guideline document and the FAQs as well. There are two ways to mainly ask your questions in today's webinar. One is please raise your hands and we'll give you an opportunity post the introduction where you could verbally unmute yourself and verbally ask the question. For those who would be unable to do so, we would request you to put your questions in writing in the Q&A tab, which appears on the control tab. There is a Q&A tab on the controls where you can type out your questions and we'll have members from the team also respond to it. We'll try and give everyone an opportunity to ask a question. And to make that fair, I request that each participant sort of limit themselves to one short focused questions. Given that we would have time constraints, it would be a little difficult for us to have follow-up or rebuttal questions during the session, but we'll make sure that all your queries to the best of our abilities are answered during the webinar. I would also like to flag that a detailed FAQ document, covering eligibility, timelines, grant size, and application requirements has already been shared publicly. So to avoid duplication, we won't be spending time today on those operational questions. We would request you to go back to the FAQ documents. I would request my colleague Sudeep to share the necessary documents in the chat once again. What we really want to focus on is helping you understand the spirit and scope of the exploratory grants so you can assess whether your idea is a good fit or not for this grant. And in case there are any questions we are unable to address today, or if something requires further clarification internally, we request your patience. We'll take those questions back and revert within a few days. So with that, I'll take a pause and I would welcome you all once again to the webinar and request Zia Lalkaka, CEO and Executive Director, to give us an overview of the foundation and its flagship initiative, ReVIVE.
Thank you, Roshan, and good afternoon, everybody. I know there are a lot of people who registered and we obviously want to keep a lot time for the questions. So I'm just going to very quickly in a few minutes tell you about ReVIVE, which is our flagship program at the T Parekh Foundation. This is a program which we spent over a year thinking through and building the strategy, where we wanted to work in an area which would look at three large areas. One is we wanted to find an area which would be a big problem of the future. We wanted to look at a theme or a sector where we could stay invested over the long run. And when we say invested, it's not a 3 or 4 year time frame, but a much larger time frame where you're looking to solve for the problem, working individually as well as collaboratively. And thirdly, we wanted to look at an area where we could build thought leadership over the long run, over the next 7, 8, 10 years. When we looked at climate change, and today climate is in everything and everywhere, wherever you may look internally or externally, we also started looking at each area within climate change, especially where there was already large investments made over the last 10, 15 years. We put aside some of those areas where already there was knowledge built, large investments made, policy largely in place, and then we started sifting through niche areas. That was in 2024, when for the first time If any of you are aware, the media started covering extreme heat, and some amount of media traction and articles came out on extreme heat, which then was only talking about heat and days of high heat as well as heat deaths. That's when we realized that living in a global south tropical country, a country like India, where people are, living in heat is considered normal. Um, but then we also realized that it's no longer the kind of heat where we see in a 2 or 3 month summer period. It's prolonged exposure to heat over many more days and many more months of the year, including during monsoon and winter seasons where we are still seeing very hot days. We are also seeing heat which is very different, especially nighttime temperatures which are not cooling down. And we are also seeing heat which is different in coastal cities, different in cities like a Jodhpur or Nagpur, which are dry, high heat centers of heat. There's also heat in mountainous regions where people are still, coping to live in warmer temperatures, which they are not accustomed to. So for us, extreme heat actually became our thematic and core area. Our entire ReVIVE program is built around finding solutions, putting people in the center. So it's adaptation and resilience linked, where we want to find solutions for people. We want to invest in solutions for not just people at a personal level, for the community as well as the city, which is going to help people adapt to far longer periods of heat and look at its impact on people's health and especially on livelihoods and productivity. So I'm going to stop there. And Roshan has already introduced exploratory grants. We've already started our work in Heat and Revive with working with about 8-10 partners over the last 12 months. But we felt that launching this program would be very important because, as one philanthropy, we'd like to kind of reach out to new and novel ideas, reach out to, uh, you know, uh, to an ecosystem of partners and social enterprises across the country. And hence, we have launched the exploratory grants to see how we can work with a whole varied set of partners and enrich our entire heat portfolio. Thank you for that, and I'll hand it back to Roshan now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Zia, for taking us through ReVIVE and what the foundation is currently, focusing on in its flagship program. I wanted to take a few minutes before we opened up for questions. And like I said, it's going to be mostly like an interactive sessions. While I am talking, and if certain questions come to your mind, I would encourage you to put it in the question answer tab or make a note of it and please ask your questions as well. So now, why exactly the exploratory grants? Why does this kind of a grant exist? At the foundation, over the last 1 year of our work on extreme heat, we do recognize that it is not a standalone climate risk. It intersects with multiple systems, whether you talk about health, water, energy, care, and various urban systems as well. And its impacts are often cascading and compounding. And when I say cascading and compounding, most of y'all from the climate background would also understand that it's not very linear. There is additionality when heat interacts with various other subsystems and also compounding with other climate hazards as well. So if heat were to interact with a drought or heat were to interact with a flooding kind of a climate risk, what would sort of those impacts be and what would that look like? In Indian cities, heat increasingly and this is also causing like structural challenges in the ways that we've not fully understood, and therefore the responses by urban systems or governance systems has been very limited as we understand it. Over the past few years, there has been an important and necessary body of work across the ecosystem on several aspects of heat, like even Zia mentioned, right, that in the year 2024, we did see a lot of coverage on heat. And that also sort of triggered a lot of work across the nation on various aspects of heat, such as understanding why exactly heat occurs. So what are the causation factors or the drivers of heat, urban heat particularly? identifying vulnerable populations as well. We do understand that heat impacts those with differential access to resources very differently. So whether it's a pregnant lady in a tier 3 city, or in a big, medium, or small city, or it's people living with comorbidities, how does heat really impact them? A huge set of our economy, which is our outdoor and indoor workers, how do they get impacted with extreme heat events, etc. Some of the kind of vulnerability studies that have been going around in the ecosystem, also in terms of developing cooling solutions, right? So cooling solutions have been spoken about, and there are quite a lot of innovative solutions that we've seen, whether at the household level, at the community neighborhood level, or even at a city level. So developing different cooling solutions, strengthening governance systems, and informing policy responses. This kind of work has been going on for the last couple of years. It remains critical and it continues to evolve. But the intent of the exploratory grants is not to duplicate or deepen that mainstream body of work. This is an intentional attempt from our side to sort of move beyond what is already relatively well defined in the heat ecosystem, and to create space for exploration in areas where evidence is still thin, whether we are talking about India specific evidence, or we're talking about how peri-urban regions, let's say, are responding to urban heat, sort of there where the evidence is very limited, fragmented, or largely unavailable, particularly in these contexts that I just spoke about. So that is why for us, exploratory grants, sort of make a lot of sense, because they nudge us to move beyond one climate risk and look at it in its entirety, to even see it in today's day. Are we really missing something? Are there really some kind of blind spots that we're missing? Then I come to the next section of what do we really mean by exploratory? I would just try and sum it up in a very simple way, that what are the emerging questions that cities are not yet prepared for? Where is heat amplifying other stresses, or is being amplified by them? And what is the kind of new evidence that we need, whether we're talking about cross-sectoral interactions or other, compounding risks that we're talking about, that can help us anticipate and respond to the challenges of the present and the future. And like I said, there are already there is already this growing body of work which continues, to take place. But where are those blind spots? What are we not really looking at? And something that we've not understood in its entirety is where the nudge for the exploratory grants is really going towards. At its core, the grant is less about scaling answers and more about surfacing better questions before the cities are forced to sort of confront them without evidence. So I just pause with that, and I would now I'll also come to the exclusions when the question arises, but I'll take a pause and now open it up for questions. I'd request Khanjan to sort of assist with this, and I mean, people can raise their hands right now, and we'll allow you one by one to unmute yourself and ask us questions, and we'll try and respond it immediately. I just request everyone to keep it a little short and succinct for everyone. I see Dr. Shamla's hand up. Khanjan, can you unmute them?
Yes, I have.
Request Shamla, you to unmute yourself and ask the questions. Dr. Shamla Mani. Okay, I'm not seeing them respond. Maybe we could move to Devi Prasad Dash.
Namaskar. So I understand this is definitely not about a first line of activities like doing some vulnerability mapping and stuff. So most of the activities have already been done. Somewhere it is currently being done. So when we say exploratory research, do non-economic losses and damage come under this category? Non-economic losses and damages are basically those damages and losses which are not tangible, and because of climate changes, they are still being induced. For example, let's just say there is this farmer who, because of some coastal salinity in his field, induces certain strain, and to the extent that he commits suicide. So that period during which he or she has induced that stress is called non-economic loss and damage. So is this exploratory research going to address some of those issues, non-economic losses and damage? Because at the center of this project, of course, there will be no vulnerability mapping, but there will be one vulnerability mapping to start with. We are working with various marginalized people, and we will need certain marginalized people, certain data collected on them, with them, on urban settlements, but it will not be the primary or the center of our project, but it
Sure,
will be part of our project. That
sure.
is one thing, how to go about it. And the second thing is regarding the budget. If I can,
Yes.
can I just quickly
Yeah,
ask the
please, I would
second question?
request you to be quick with it. Thank you, Devi.
Okay, the second thing is about the budget. So it says that 8 to 10 organizations will be selected, 25 to 50 lakhs. So is that budget range for everyone or everyone?
Yes.
Okay, that's it. That answers me. So if you can just
Sure.
answer my
Thank you,
first
Devi.
question.
Thank you for that interesting question. So I would just like to reiterate that this grant, because we are focusing on urban heat, is limited to urban and peri-urban geographies, and therefore agriculture and related questions and how heat is impacting, let's say, rural India, sort of comes out of, is beyond the boundaries of what the grant would support. So I would say that if there are communities that you're looking at which are within the urban ecosystem and based on the, on the mainstream work that I have already explained to you, if it goes beyond that, sure, I would encourage you to apply. And in terms of the budget, yes, it is a range of 25 to 50 lakhs per organization. It would be per organization and not in terms of individuals applying for these grants.
Sure.
Even
And
if it is in consortium, I'm sorry, Devi, I would have to
please,
allow others to also get a chance
please.
to ask the question. We can
Yeah.
always circle back if there's more time. Thank you so much.
And how I can do that? Do I have an email address where I can ask questions? Should
We will
anything I
pose
miss?
all of this in the chat. Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Could I get Dr. Shamla, please? Yes, I think if you're able to unmute right now. You're still muted, ma'am.
There is a mic option on the upper right hand corner. You just have to unmute yourself. If it doesn't work, please post it on Q&A.
People in the chat, people are saying they're unable to unmute themselves. Kanjan, if you can just solve for this. I apologize for this. We'll just work and see how we can sort this out. Sachin, if you could do that, if you could try and unmute yourself and ask the question, then we can see if it's working for you. Yes, thank you.
Yes, perfect. Thanks. So Roshan, I'm going to make it quick. I'm just going to quickly repeat what's written in the, in the application. It says applications are welcome from organizations such as implementation agencies, think tanks, institutions, non-governmental organizations, and social enterprises. Such organizations must be registered for a minimum of 3 years in India with an annual expenditure budget of 2 crores in the last financial year. Now, I pretty much meet everything except the 2 crore expenditure budget. Okay. I mean, honestly, if you spend 2 crore, then 25 lakh grant would not be as big, right? So we're not there. Are we allowed to apply or we are not allowed to apply? Because that is very relevant to what the ReVIVE idea is.
I see where you're coming from, Sachin. Unfortunately, these are the kind of boundary conditions that we have created in terms of the eligibility criteria. Once I share the email ID in the chat box as well, if Sudeep can reshare it, I can't see the chat. Maybe you could write to us separately. Unfortunately, we would not be making any exceptions because then it becomes two case by case basis and a little unfair. So for the exploratory grants, it's going to be set at 2 crores of expenditure budget.
That means you actually had to spend 2 crores in the last financial year. That's what it means, right?
Yes.
So I mean, then is it making, sorry, but I'm just trying to understand. You're spending 2 crores, then how is the 25 lakh grant going to help when you're already spending 2 crores? I mean, it's a massive amount.
2 crores is also massive, but 25 crores also then acts as
25 lakhs.
25 lakhs also acts, as a 10% of your overall expenditure budget. So you also have to see the capacities of organizations with the expenditure budget to be able to absorb and spend the amount that is going to be granted to them.
Fine.
Well.
So let me write you an email and then you all can see what it is.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. And I do believe that many people on this call would have had similar questions as well.
Yeah, so I can ask now.
Yes,
yeah,
Dr.
thank you
Shamla.
so much. Yeah, so basically I had posted these questions in the Q&A also. The exclusion, the clause that you have given, can you please explain it with some examples? Because it says, you are excluding causation analysis, vulnerability assessments, cooling solutions at individual household and city levels. And
Yes.
therefore, without vulnerability assessments, I find it difficult that how can we, try to show, how the innovation is working. And similarly, when you say the cycle is only 1 year, so, by the time the grant is given and we already might even cross the, the summer months. And so the innovation will have to be tested only during the next really hot months. So, that won't give us the time required to show the effectiveness. So can you please explain these two things? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shamla. I also see that this is in relation to Mr. Debi's question as well. I'm just seeing a little bit of a connection. Exclusions are primarily, like I said, that there's already a very mainstream body of work that is emerging in the heat stress space, right? And therefore, the idea is, so whether you're talking about, let's say, cooling solutions like cooling bus stops, or the kind of roofing or retrofitting solutions that we are seeing, or for example, cool paint. Now, these are the kind of solutions that are already in the market, are already seeing some kind of success. There's already some kind of evidence building. And therefore, we don't want to sort of give more important, funding for these kind of questions, which are already finding that kind of a catalyst in the ecosystem. From a vulnerability assessment point of view, I would say that if your end outcome is only to find out that, let's say, X population is impacted more gravely than Y population, then yes, that kind of a study would not be accepted. But if the vulnerability assessment is very specific to, like Devi mentioned, right, that we're looking at a coastal community in an urban area, if it's very specific to that, it can form a part of your actual study or the pilot that you want to undertake on the ground. But it cannot be the only end outcome that these are the populations which are vulnerable. So I hope this answers the first part of your question. And I apologize, but I have actually missed out the second part. Yes, Zia, I see that you also would like to come in.
Hi, so I think I'll just step in here about the timing that Dr. Shamla, you mentioned. So just wanted to reiterate, these are unrestricted fund grants, right? So whilst we have our regular grants and a regular body of partners that we work with on much longer term, 2-year, 3-year projects, the idea of the exploratory grants is, number one, it's unrestricted money. So this 25 to 50 lakh bucket is once we close the grants this year, it will be a quick disbursement, and we are going to do the disbursement before the 31st of March based on the number of partners that we close out under exploratory. So it's unrestricted. It's not like we are going to, take 3 or 4 months. As long as the idea and the other criteria resonate, we will be doing we will be doing a one-time disbursement prior to March. So, and then you will have 12 months to demonstrate the idea. These are also, whilst we call it exploratory grants, this is also typically what you would call in the ecosystem as learning grants. So these are new ideas, new thoughts, which could be research focused, innovation focused. And hence we want to kind of use this 1 year time period to see, if the problem that you're aiming to solve or the issue that you're aiming to resolve from a pilot perspective, we feel 12 months, is a time frame where it can be done. So that's basically just wanted to tell you that this is not part of a larger, deeper grant program, but more, 1 year quick grants to test new solutions and ideas. And I hope that's kind of answered the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Zia. I'm just trying to see. I'm unable to see. I see Ananya Iyer,
yeah.
your hand. Yes.
Yeah, just a few questions in the sense that both organizations have to meet, if there's two organizations, the consortium, do both have to meet the 2 crore criteria? Also, if both organizations are research and practice based, if they're two different ones together, would that work? Say the practice one is also based on collective action and workers groups coming together to implement a certain program. Would that work? That's what I want.
So I'll just answer your first question, your second question, that two different kinds of organizations, yes, they can come together as long as it's getting justified very clearly as to what the two roles are and for what outcome that you all are coming together. Like Zia mentioned, this is an unrestricted grant, and therefore the progress of the work is more looked upon at, as against the outcomes that would be pre-decided between the organization and HTPF, and it would be based on that. So two different kinds of organizations are more than welcome to come together. In terms of your other question, it's already there, I think, in our, if not, I would just request Shubham to respond in the chat to this question in terms of whether two organizations together need to, have individually have 2 crores expenditure.
Sure, I shall. Thanks.
Can I next look at Mr. Manik Gupta?
Mute myself. Hi, sorry. So this is Miss Manik Gupta.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry, Manik.
It's all right. No worries. So hi everyone. So I work at BITS Pilani Hyderabad campus in the computer science department as an associate professor. So my question is specifically about usage. I mean, can these be technology focused research ideas? I mean, of course, I'm working with a team of social scientists, but then can this be technology focused? And I do hear that these are unrestricted grants, but can we ask for equipment like IoT devices and stuff like that?
So as long as the grant is, looking at solving for these other unexamined, unexplored areas, sure, the grant amount can be used even for equipment and other purposes. Like Zia mentioned, it is unrestricted, so the organizations do get a say. But at the end of the day, it needs to collectively contribute to achieving the pre-decided outcomes. So even tech focused, as long as it's not only, you're looking at pushing the boundaries a little bit. It's not only a product, but you're thinking about it differently. I think you can absolutely apply for this as well, even if it's tech focused.
We are primarily using technology as a data gathering mechanism. You can say that.
Sure.
Yep. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Aniket. Aniket, could I request you to unmute yourself and ask the question? Otherwise, we can move to the second person. Yeah. You're still muted. Kanchan, can you please check on his access?
Yeah, I have allowed, you just have to unmute, click on the mic option. Can Ankita try?
Ankita, would you be able to please try? Okay, I can't see Ankita. Maybe Suhardo. Sorry if the pronunciation is.
Hi,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes, I'll be quick about it. I mean, it's a winded question. The thing is, since you are not allowing, one of the exclusions is vulnerability mapping and causation analysis. We are excluding them. So my first question was, how do we set the need or priority? But then you answered that we can focus on specific community groups, but only vulnerability mapping will not work, but something more. So that something more, will that, in that regard, will a strategic recommendations suffice, or do you need on-ground demonstrations as solutions, as in research versus innovation? And so apart from, I mean, in addition to specific community groups, can these community groups be from, I mean, the mainstream research, can the mainstream research that all of you mentioned at the beginning of your explanation, can it be applied to tier 2, tier 3 cities or specific community groups in peri-urban areas?
So if I'm understanding your question correctly, can the outcomes of your vulnerability assessments only take the form of strategic recommendations, or does that have to be actual implementation of ground on the ground to justify those vulnerability assessments?
That's one.
Right. So yeah. So I would say just strategic recommendations is not something that would be desirable, because there's already a huge body of work that is available for certain identified vulnerability populations already mentioned by the NDMA in their guidelines for heat work. So unfortunately, they would not suffice. But if there is an innovative solution which is coming out from that particular group of assessments, then maybe it, I mean, not maybe, sorry, but then we could look at considering the proposal. At the end of the day, for us at the foundation, action research is what really is something that we would like to support. Pure academic research, taking the form of only reports would not be encouraged.
So the second part I understood. Thank you very much,
Sure.
Roshan. The second part was, can we do the mainstream work in tier 2, tier 3 cities or specific community groups in peri-urban areas?
Right. Sorry, I forgot to answer that. So our work at HTPF is largely in the big, medium, small cities, which you're essentially calling as tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So that's already the area we're in. And that's sort of the mainstream for us. So it's not really the megapolises or like a Mumbai, Bangalore kind of work that we're looking at. If I would encourage you to actually think about tier 2 and tier 3 cities in terms of implementing solutions as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Aniket, if you're able to unmute, you can do that, or we can move to Nupur. Oh, still. I apologize for this. Maybe you could just pose your question in the Q&A and I can just try and get back to that. Nupur, maybe you could try unmuting yourself. Yes. Hi.
Yeah. Hi, Roshan. Thank you for answering our questions. I had two questions. One, on the scale of the pilots, is there a particular desirable scale or a sample size that you're looking for? And second, do you also have any requirements for team personnel in terms of experience or number of people on the team that you'd like?
Sure. Thanks, Nupur, for your question. Essentially, the exploratory grants are not for scale-ups of existing solutions. And let's say if you would like to scale it up to a larger sort of a geography, there is no limitation in terms of the sample size that we would need a limited, this is the number that we would define, also purely because this is not an academic research. Your justification or your rationale should be strong enough for us to understand why is the population that you're selecting and what is the number that you're selecting for. So I would discourage scale-ups or high-scale implementation projects. And in terms of team composition, like you all would have read in the guideline document, one of the criteria is also the kind of experience the organization has had in the solution that that they are sort of proposing to us. It does not mean you need to have heat expertise, because we do recognize that essentially it is to explore the conversation. But whatever you're looking at heat, and I'm just giving an example, if you were to look at heat and coastal livelihoods, for example, then having an experience in coastal livelihoods would be desirable, where at least the team is equipped to understand and sort of unlock the larger area of work that you're coming from. So it would be a combination. We would not be able to give you exactly these many number of years for X kind of an expert. It would be a combination, and we would encourage you to use your discretion while applying. Thanks, Nupur. I would now move to Arman.
Yeah, I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Roshan, and for explaining all the details and all the questions in detail. So I had a very small question because I was looking at one of your examples, which is municipal governance, right? It's like building the
Sorry?
capacity of,
Yeah.
building the capacity of local government, right, in cities, right? That's one of the examples. So, in case the project is involving cities or city government as a part or a component of their project, right? The innovation that they are building, they want to co-design it with the government. If that's the case, then also it is excluded from this case. And the second part of this question is, what if this kind of municipal or city risk capacity building is done in small cities, nagar panchayats, which have not been till now looked at as a, part of urban heat island effects in India. So yeah, what do you have to say about it?
To answer your question, the second part absolutely is included. Looking at Nagar Panchayat specifically, because those form the peri-urban sort of regions. And to your first part, in terms of in the overall project, if one of the components is building capacities, like it's the same example I gave someone else also in terms of vulnerability assessments. If the core project is on building capacities of, let's say, municipal corporation staff in 5 cities, it will not be included. But if it forms as a part of what you're trying to achieve, and therefore to achieve that outcome, this is one of the things that you would need to do. It will not be considered, incorrect for you to be doing that. I hope this is answered. We can now move to Rashi.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. Thanks for that detailed background before the Q&A session. That was very helpful. So my question is really around the budget right now, because it came up in the conversation that this is technically unrestricted at this point. So what level of budget detailing is required in the grant? Do you require a proper detailed background? Obviously, I mean, who are applying, we know, what, how we've come to a certain figure, but is there something that we need to be mindful of when we are submitting the proposal or the idea?
Sure. Thank you so much for asking that question, Rashi. So in terms of what are the inclusions and the exclusions, even of the budget and the level of detail, of course, this will not be as detailed with different, 50 line items expected from the partners, because that would defeat the purpose. But of course, it needs to justify. So if you're asking for, let's say, it's a 6-month or an 8-month study, or a small research study that you're looking at and asking for a 50 lakh kind of budget, it also needs to justify. We do have experts and an internal process that would be gauging this, and therefore I would again request you, like others, to use your discretion while submitting the budget. At the end of the day, the budget needs to justify the outcomes that we together want to achieve to sort of contribute to the larger ecosystem. If that is done, then that it would not really be a big issue. But at the outset, I would just say that if it's unrestricted, it wouldn't be desirable if 90% is, let's say, spent on overheads of the organization, right? So I'm just saying that you'll have to gauge that for yourself. And of course, once organizations are shortlisted, we would also be having one-on-one conversations with them in which we can go into a little depth. But at the point of applying for the grant, I would say minimal details of what are your large budget heads that would be required. I think that's more than enough for us for now.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Thank you, Rashi. Aarti from MSSRF, Dr. Shamla, I do see your hand, but I would like others to get a chance to come in first.
Hi,
Aarti from MSSRF.
Yeah. So
hi.
Hi, good evening. So we here as a team, we are focusing on we are planning to have two aspects, like one is on nutrition and on mental health. So I'm just thinking on what aspects from nutrition angle are you actually looking for? So given that you mentioned it has to be implementation research, so is there any specific thing you are looking for when it comes to nutrition and heat?
So Aarti, I would not at this stage, I think we would leave it to the organizations to push their boundaries and think what are those aspects that one could look at when one talks about heat and nutrition. The topics suggested in the guideline document are only indicative and not exhaustive. So you could look at nutrition from multiple angles as long as it's justifying the research question you really want to address through your research. And yeah, you're right. I did mention that we actually at the foundation we would like to support action-oriented research where whatever are the research findings need to get translated, at least that potential to get translated into implementation pilots on the ground. You may not be able to do that pilot in the course of your, in the course of that 1 year proposal. But we need to understand that then why a 12-month research, complete research and not having implementation on ground. So I would just say that, yes, it needs to get translated into action, but it may not always be necessary that the pilot happens during the course of the research.
One last question if I'm allowed to.
Yes, I would request you to hurry a little bit.
Yeah, quick one. So you say in the document it says that the study starts from April. So
right.
So I'm just thinking if the heat starts in the April and May, and so what if it happens like you miss the heat session but you have the proposal, right? So what happens in that scenario?
So we will try and respond to that in the Q&A because we had a very similar question and Zia has already answered that. I'm not sure if you were a part of the webinar then. We'll try and just repeat the question in the Q&A responses or the chat, Aarti, for that particular question. Thank you so much. Could I request Vivek Vaidyanathan, sorry, to unmute themselves?
Thank you so much. This is Vivek from Artha. Two-part question. One is there a view? I think this has been answered, but if you said that just to recap, you said that as long as it's not very much solution oriented but exploratory, because we're working with state governments and just trying to understand if an proposed engagement with ULBs, which looks at the intersectionality between heat and air quality towards adaptation, would that be something which would be part of this?
You said heat and air quality, right?
Yes.
Yes, sure. You could apply.
Great.
With that, Vivek.
Yeah.
Thank you for such a quick question. I would now request Manoj if you could unmute yourself, Manoj Pati.
Hi, I'm Dr. Manoj from HPG. Is it audible?
Yes, please go on, Mr. Manoj.
Yeah. My question is regarding the extreme heat itself per se. So do you have any definition or indicator that you are following to define that?
Sorry, I lost your... Do we have any definition of what extreme heat is? Is that what your question is?
Yeah. Do you follow that or we can take any place?
I would request you to follow extreme urban heat. I'm sorry, your voice is going in and out, but urban heat definition, I would request you to follow that, whether it's thresholds from the IMD which are issued or the drivers, which urban forms are sort of affecting and impacting the urban heat island effect, etc. Those are the kind of definitions that you should look at from an extreme urban heat perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Professor Indu?
All right, thank you so much. First for the grant itself, for the call of the grants, I request a couple of answers here. You were saying that you're talking about tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Would you completely rule out Mumbai?
Would we completely rule out rural? Yes.
No, no.
Yes, ma'am. Unfortunately.
Rule out Mumbai.
Mumbai. I mean, at the end of the day, it really depends on what the idea would be, but I would probably get back to you on big city, megapolises to be included or not. I will get back to you on that. But as of now, most of our focus is on the, other big, medium, small cities. If your research question, I would just reiterate this again, and for the benefit of everyone else. If the research question really justifies the selection of the city, why are you going for a particularly Mumbai because of the kind of questions you're trying to ask or the kind of piloting solution that you would like to do? If the geography really responds well to it, I would encourage you to apply.
Thank you so much. I have another little part of it. Would the grant also cover something like stipends or honoraria for, say, students who are working for it, or the people who are giving, participating or lecturing about it, or giving us ideas?
So, Professor Indu, this is largely an unrestricted grant, and therefore the organization would get would have a say in how the amount is really utilized, as long as the grant is contributing to understanding the outcome, the research questions and coming to the outcome. I don't see that as a problem. It just needs to justify it.
Right, thank you. And the last one, would the question
I'm so
answer
sorry,
just
Dr. Professor Indu. I will have to move to the rest. We're only 10 minutes away and there are a bunch of questions. You can pose it in the Q&A and my colleagues will respond
Right,
to
thank
it.
you.
I apologize.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Shreya Bansal. Yes, Shreya, please go on. Okay, I think you're also unable to unmute yourself. Arzu, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, I can ask the question. So, my question is like when we are talking about the execution or implementation and all, so do the project also need to have pilot or something, or can it just be a proposal? Do we have to do the pilot?
So if your entire research is about getting to actionable solutions, if the 1-year grant period is only allowing for that, it's completely okay. But like I had mentioned to the others as well, that it needs to translate into actionable solutions on ground, either during the course of your cycle itself or as a part 2 or so of it. But it cannot be only academic research or research which is rooted only in strategic recommendations for the body.
Okay, got it.
Okay, thank you. Deep Suryakant.
Hi, Roshan. This is Deep from ICF Consulting. Mine is a quick question. Can private organizations take part in the proposal? Or?
Yes, so social enterprises can. I'll just request Shubham to paste the criteria for social enterprises and how we are defining them in the chat box. That should help address the question, Deep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I see Amit Bhattacharya as well. Amit, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Yeah, now it's working. Thank you.
Yes.
Roshan, what I wanted to know, though it is written, I've seen that it's a single institute grant application you guys are allowing. It can't be a collaboration between two institutes from the
You
same
can have a
place.
collaboration between two institutes, but there will have to be one organization that is the lead organization or the lead anchor. Because
Okay.
the grant
So PI,
will be
PI, co-PI format, that I can do.
So grant
And
will be dispersed to one organization, and then you could have sub-granting to the partner you would like to work with through that.
Okay. So on that note, there is this technical detail submission that has been asked, like the
Yes.
PAN card, Form 12B, all these
Yes.
things. So that has to go for the primary institute.
For the primary institute, you're right, actually, thanks for bringing that up. So all those documents are definitely required for the primary institute, but because you would be partnering with, in the case of collaborations, and this is for all people on the call, in case you're partnering with another organization, we would reach out to you separately and get sort of the details for the due diligence documents for that organization as well. Because at the end of the day, they would be receiving the funds too. So due diligence would be carried out on that organization too.
Okay. So could you suggest as in how, it's sometimes challenging getting these documents if I am collaborating with a government institutes like PAN card, Form 12B. Government institutes probably don't have that. So what all alternatives could be submitted?
That's a very good question. Thank you for that, Amit. I do not have the answer to it right now. Allow me some time and I will circle back. And this will actually benefit all the others also on the call. I will circle back. So Deep,
Roshan, I'll just step in here. Let me just step in for
okay.
this. I think this question has come up 2-3 times. Whether if two parties want to submit the proposal together, so you may have you may have two or even a tripartite agreement, but from the purpose of submitting the proposal, it'll have to be one lead partner, and all the documents will need to be submitted for the lead partner. Our funds will go to the lead partner. As part of your proposal, you can mention that you're working in collaboration with X, which could be academia, which could be partner, or it could even be more than one partners. So that can be part of your proposal. But for us, in terms of a one partner approach and funds going to one entity, it will be one person who's leading that coalition or who's leading the collaboration. So even if you're working with a government entity, you will need to meet the criteria and you will need to submit your compliance documents, and the funds will go to you. The sub-granting can be done then onwards from you to one or more partners.
Thank you so much, Zia. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, understood. As in the private institute then needs to become the PI and the government institute would become co-PI. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Vaishnavi?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Firstly, thank you so much for being so patient and answering all the questions. Mine would be very simple, yet I'm a little bit confused about it. So my question was that it needs to be a pilot, that I understand, that you would not recommend scaling up in a project which is ongoing, existing one. But having that support would also be beneficial, that we have worked somewhere, something similar before, and it will help us, right? That is what you
Not
meant.
the idea. Sorry, I think I know where you're going, Vaishnavi. I'll just come here in just because of paucity of time. Not the idea that you're proposing. So, for example, someone here mentioned heat and air quality. So, you would have had to have experience working in air quality. Let's say that the team that you're proposing has some experience in air quality. You have a body of work for air quality. So, we would not say that, okay, you have already done air quality work, so you can't. That would not be regarded as a scale up.
Okay, and one more thing, the project doesn't have to have research as a part of it, right?
It can absolutely have research as a part of it.
but it can
This
not
project
also.
is to support research ideas. I'm sorry, this grant is to support research ideas, new ideas, under-examined areas of heat, how heat interacts with other climate risks, etc. And looking at the other sectors in which there is no mainstream body of work.
Okay.
So research can absolutely be a part of it.
Okay, understood. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I also see that we have only 2 minutes left, and I'm sorry I've not been able to go back to the Q&A tab. What I can do is, and I would just take a vote here. Can we please extend for the next 10-15 minutes, because I do see a lot of queries coming in from people, and I would also like to respond to some of the Q&A questions. Is it okay? I'm just assuming everyone is going to be okay with it. Okay, thank you. Can Surabhi also unmute herself and ask the question?
Yeah, hi Roshan, and thank you. I'm Surabhi Bhardwaj from TNC, and thank you, Zia, for that, kind of sharing a high level, understanding about what this grant is really going to look at. My question is, this is not like we are not looking right now. It can be pan-India work, which we can look and kind of apply for. And we are looking at exploring it something for the Northeast. But my question here is, we are already working in that geography. We have a theory of change already present there. This particular research grant will help to address a small P of it, a small project part of it, which we are hopeful that if the grant, as Zia said, that will be closed by March and it will be allocated to the grantees by, say, the first few weeks of April, will help initiate the work. My question is, are you very strict on any like timeline? Like, is it going to be 12 months sharp, or is there a potential to also share with you a little long-term plan? Because in conservation, we look at a long-term plan for the project. So is there a scope of extension in the future? So just parking it here and asking you that question.
Sure. Thanks, Surabhi. I'll try and respond to this, but I would also request Zia if you would have some pointers to add to this. In terms of the project being a small part of a larger project, if that project can actually answer a research question or anything that we're trying to address through it in its entirety, and you're able to show outcomes related to the grant, then I think we can look at it in detail. And for the second part, I would request Zia in terms of the timelines and a larger extended partnership.
So Surbhi, hi, I heard you using the word conservation. Just wanted to highlight once again that we are looking at extreme heat from an urban context. So if you're proposing to send anything and you're looking at green cover, or you're looking at greening from an urban context, then it would, your idea or proposal would be accepted. Now, whilst I do understand that conservation projects, obviously need long time and have long gestation periods, this particular 12-month period is not for programmatic support, right? So it's not for long-term programs, which then fall, which then kind of get included as part of our programmatic portfolio. But if you have an idea or a measurement metric or a new idea in terms of how to do green cover, and you want to do a small pilot, the outcome of which could be seen beyond 12 months, but it's a new way of looking at, say, urban forestry, or looking at urban green cover, or looking at heat mitigation from a green cover perspective, that would be eligible from a grant perspective. But if you're looking at a conservation project where you're looking at actually rural and forest areas, then that would not apply. It would not be eligible, because we are looking at urban heat and we're not looking at heat overall, even from the rural realm. So yeah, that's I mean, that's the best I could think.
Yeah. No, that's helpful. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you so much, Surabhi. We now have Neet, Miss Neet. I think that would be the last verbal question I would be able to take, and then I would move on to the Q&A section.
Hi,
Yes,
thank you
please,
so
please
much
go
for
ahead.
being so patient about answering all our questions. I did get a clarity a lot about the whole proposal. So it's a simple question. What if my primary organization who we're collaborating with is a for-profit organization, while we are an NGO, which is a sister concern of this for-profit organization? Can this combination participate in this?
Absolutely can work. This combination can absolutely work. Just that, just check who your lead applicant would be, and your GST TDS rules would apply to that organization as well. So it's up to you whether the for-profit or the not-for-profit really takes the lead, but we would encourage this kind of a collaboration.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm going to move to the Q&A bit and see the questions which are not sort of addressed yet. If I do miss some, Shumam Khanjan, please just point me out to them. If we focus on impact of heat and health of given vulnerable group in a municipal corporation, not a metropolitan, would it be outside the scope of this grant? No, it would not be outside the scope. If you're looking at heat and health, also describe very clearly what kind of health parameters, because there's not a very big body of work on certain aspects of health, it would not be, it would be considered with, in this grant. Yes, Q&A text along with along with the recording will be shared. Beyond 50 lakhs after 12 months to further funding be considered. I think Zia has already answered this question. Yeah, have I addressed most of the questions?
Roshan.
Aniket, yes.
Aniket and Dr. Ishita, if they can try and unmute.
Oh no. Sudeep, have we put in our email ID in the chat? I really apologize for this, Aniket. I would just request you to send us your query. I don't know why this issue is occurring. Everything is pinned. Sorry, I have lost the chat. Then there was a question on we qualify as an INGO globally. We are incorporated in India as a private company. So the Indian legal, whichever is the Indian entity, would be the one applying. This grant would be only for Indian organizations. So if in India you're registered as a private company, you will have to apply as a private company.
And sorry, I'll just add to that, all projects and pilots need to be in India. So it cannot be something which is, being piloted, say, partly in India, partly in another country. So this grant is specifically for Indian registered social enterprises and non-profits, where the project idea innovation is being executed in India. It may be replicable in other countries and other ecosystems, but it needs to be vested in India. It cannot be something which is being done in another country.
Dr. Ishita, are you able to unmute? Sorry, I think that's the last hand that is raised.
Okay.
Good evening and greetings from Gujarat. I would like to know, I first of all would like to acknowledge what Zia just now told about the conservation project, that it's not that in a couple of months or in a couple of years you can see, especially when you talk about urban forestry. Recently, I finished one of my work with Oxford Policy Management related to urban forestry, Heat Island and in Maharashtra. So my question is that in this particular grant, which I have already applied for, we are trying to look into the methodology to pilot in Gujarat, that whether some ecosystems will overlap, what is the ecosystem impact on urban greening? And as you might know the story of Belgium, so something similar I want to do. Is it possible that for the methodology, and it's just for 12 months, so as Jia said that within 12 months, but I would like to take the cases where already some forests are existing and where some, with the forest department, I also had a chat, whether some set aside lands can be taken from 4 distinct cities to see the impact. And if so, then this methodology will be the first in the world to recognize the proper calculation of urban heat island.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eshta, for asking that question. So if it's going to be piloted for the first time and even for a development of methodology, you can definitely apply for the grant even for methodology development, as long as reiterating again that it's going to be done for the first time, body of work in India does not exist, and there is a value add that is coming from it. So definitely you can go ahead and apply.
Absolutely. And we are also trying to put an IT tool like we did for access and benefit sharing. So I'm trying to put an IT tool also so that next COP this can be presented even if the project gets selected from Gujarat and T Parekh. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Wishing you the best.
Roshan, I'm just reading out Aniket's question. He has posted it on Q&A.
Yes.
Does heat wave forecasting technology and measuring sector-specific impacts also fit into the desired proposal?
Sector-specific impacts, yes. So if let's say you're talking about heat's impact on the grid or how energy systems are responding, sure, but it won't be regarded as a very innovative or a very under-examined area because that question has already been spoken about. So what is that under-examined area context that you would get into it? We'll also have to see case by case. But from an overall perspective, sure, you can apply for sector-specific impacts, like I had mentioned earlier. Dr. Shamla, I see your hand up again. Sure, please go ahead and ask the question. Sorry, Kanjan, were there other responses that have not been answered?
I'm just checking.
Okay. Meanwhile, yes, Dr. Shamla, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. That same in the exclusion you've mentioned households and, city level. I understand that, existing things like cooling roof and all that, that's fine. But, like if we were to, there was another question about large metropolises. So suppose we are working in EWS areas and, we have an innovation. So that will be household and to a certain extent, across different locations. So will that be considered? And, that is something that I would be interested in.
If you're working on early warning systems, Dr. Shamla, I mean, again, I would say that there is work going on around it. If the under-examined area or the exploratory part of it, you define as geography, like let's try it in different geographies, then that would not fall under the purview of these grants. But you're looking at different aspects on, I'm just saying, like, how you're looking at strengthening current EWS or looking at, how different actors can sort of come together. It's also very case by case. So I would encourage you to apply if there is even a slight sort of a question and confusion in mind, but certain exclusions which are very, very clear. I hope people have got clarity on what are completely and
things like
absolutely
livelihoods, impact on livelihoods, health parameters. Those are the kind of things.
Health parameters, again, yes, there is already work, and even heat action plans, most of the work is directed towards health. But what aspects of health, what are the newer dimensions of health we are trying to bring in? I think that would be sort of encouraged. Even from a livelihoods perspective, we're already seeing a lot of work on how our outdoor workers or some specific kind of workers getting impacted, the gig economy, etc. So if there is work, but work is happening in Mumbai, but not in a Surat, but work is still happening, right? So those kind of scale-ups will not be given the first preference, where only the geography is sort of different and the idea is
No,
already
it could be
existing.
indoor also. Could be indoor.
Could be indoor also, yeah. I'm also seeing Professor Indu, did you have another question?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to know if you can have an international partner.
Zia, would we be okay to have an international partner to partner with?
Sorry, can you just let me, so who the key partner is an international partner?
Yeah, no. This will be University of Mumbai, but the partner
Sorry?
would be, we are from the University of Mumbai.
Yes.
So suppose we tie up with an academic institution, say from somewhere else, an
Yeah.
international entity. Would
Yeah.
that be allowed?
Yeah, that's fine. As long as the key partner is an Indian partner, that's fine. And it also depends on what you define as international, because I mean there are a lot of international academia and their branch offices or their offshoots like operating in India?
No. They're not operating in India as yet.
So would you be transferring funds to them?
We haven't worked out that as yet. So we want to, because we have an idea of a project in mind. We just want to know whether we'll be able to implement that, and we'll have to work out the logistics for that.
Okay, so maybe we can talk about this offline. I mean, you could have somebody who's a knowledge partner, but we can talk about the funds transaction as part of a separate conversation if your proposal, is part of our final selection.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I have time for maybe just a couple of questions. I think Suharto, you had Suharto Chakravarti, you had another question?
Just a
Yes.
quick follow-up. I mean, I think there was a way, could not communicate it properly. Mainstream, I understood, it is understood that we are working in the peri-urban smaller cities. What I meant by mainstream is the mainstream work. So as you are aware, not a lot of work has happened in these cities or in these peri-urban areas, especially heat related work. Largely the work has been focused in some big cities or something like that. So can we form part of our proposal one or more of the exclusions that you have mentioned, because the causation analysis or the vulnerability mapping in these smaller cities and in these peri-urban areas of, even peri-urban areas of smaller cities?
Got it. So I get your question. Again, I think I answered it towards someone else that changing the geography of an already answered question will not be regarded as an exploration, right? But if you're looking at, which would also involve your organization doing some bit of research at your end, if there are questions where very limited literature is available, let's say coastal communities in tier 2 cities, very limited literature if it's available, and that requires you to do that, sure, which is why I said that some of it will be very case to case. It's pure vulnerability assessments, pure causation analysis. These kind of works will not be encouraged, whether it's in metropolitan cities or it's in, your big, medium, small. But what is that additional element that you're getting and contributing to the literature that does not exist? Those are the kind of elements that would be looked at.
Okay, yeah, clear. That's
okay.
understood.
So, okay, thank you so much. Unless there is any burning question which is missed out, Kanjan, if you could help me with that. I think we've had a very, very interesting 75 minutes. Thank you all so much for having the patience to listen to everyone else's questions also and allowing us to answer questions on ReVIVE's exploratory grant. My colleague Sudeep has already posted an email ID in case there are some burning questions which we apologize for not being able to get to. If you would like to write in to us, we will try. Again, I cannot promise because the volume is very high and we will not be able to respond to individual queries. But along with the recording, which will be uploaded on LinkedIn, if there are other questions which we think the group will benefit from, we will surely circulate that as well. And like someone had asked, will the Q&A also from this be shared and circulated? Sure, we will be doing that. Again, I thank everyone for making the time on a Monday afternoon, Monday evening to be a part of this webinar. And we really hope that all of y'all, that we're able to see a lot of these interesting ideas that we spoke of today as part of the applications. Thank you once again, and we look forward to reading all your proposals. Thank you.